Hi all, welcome to the Avoiding Broke podcast. I'm Leanne.
I'm Jermaine.
Hello, we're so pleased that you joined us today for this podcast. Now, in the past couple, we've been talking about your essential expenses and your discretionary expenses. And today we wanted to talk about that money that you've already spent that you may think is lost, but actually you may be able to bring it back in and add it back into your budget and use it positively.
Yeah, so guys, the key thing about what we're going to talk about today is we've all got to look at really smart ways to be a bit more efficient with our money, right? Money efficiency is very obviously becoming a more and more important thing. Like if you just read any of the papers at the minute, and if you're following the news, you're going to see that more people are getting laid off from jobs, more companies are closing. You've got more stories of parents who can't afford to support their children who are coming back into the home. You've got more people facing wages being flat. So you've got this myriad of different factors that when you start putting them all together, for most people, you are looking at having no rise in income. Your expenses are still increasing because you've still got inflation and you've still got the day-to-day cost of living. But the realities of things like furloughs and the things like the macroeconomic factors, they're challenging us. So we've got to be smart.
I think so. And there are potentially very simple things that you can do to bring some money back into your pocket to give you options. And I think that's what we want to talk about today.
Sure.
Those more things. So for me, and I think you can probably agree with this, Jermaine, one of the big things that we do is if we need anything, we'll go to Amazon and we'll buy it. And if it comes and it's not actually what we want, then it goes in a drawer, in a cupboard, and we just leave it there. Whereas actually that's money that is lost if we're not going to use it, where it's so easy to send that back and bring that money back in. So I think there are small shifts that we can all make to bring that money back in. And Amazon's just a small example, but I think it's an everyday one that we do quite a lot. Yeah,
and I think in recent times, there's probably been a big shift in how we think about money. And I think there's a reason that our wealth is really propelled and has just increased almost like kind of on the exponential curve, is because the more mature you get about how you think about your money is the better decisions that you make sometimes when you don't even realise them. So if you think about the Amazon example you've just given, I'll take it up a level and say, guys, if you're listening and watching, whatever age you are, by the way, and whatever you choose to do, where are you just spending money on stuff that you simply may not need, and where can you cut it out? And where do you have those kind of leaks? So like Amazon is just so easy, right? You click and collect. It's so simple.
Yes.
But the more you can get control over that, the more you're honest with yourself, and the more you can get control, and the more, if you really don't need something, you just send it back and get your money back, is the more you're going to see the total money left over at the end of the month increase. The maths is pretty simple, actually.
I think it's very simple, and I would just look at everything. Anything that you buy, if you don't need it, if you don't use it, and you can send it back, send it back. If you can't send it back for whatever reason, sell it on eBay. There's no point having it in your house if you can make money from it and you're not using it.
Completely. And this is a mindset point, right? Like we've got to, because a lot of the questions that I kind of ask myself is, what kind of mindset do you need to take you into 2021 if the economy tanks? Right? Literally as simple as that. How do you need to be behaving and operating? And frugality is really important. And self-awareness is important. So, I'm not ever going to tell anybody what to do, what not to do. But what I am saying is we've managed to kind of create a decent wealth platform over a number of years. And these are the kind of areas that we had to plug in order to build that platform. As simple as it sounds, well, a lot of things are quite simple. They don't need to be complicated. But that behaviour over time, being consistent, is what helped.
Consistency definitely helps. And that shift in the mindset where you're thinking about the trade. If I buy this, then that money has gone into that and I can't then use that for something else. And if you've got a big goal or something that you're working towards, then you're trading, putting money towards that.
So I understand your point about goals. But I think we just have to make sure that everything that we're doing and saying here has got to be practical. Because people will be in different life stages and they need to adapt what we're saying to suit those life stages. So if you're 16 and you're just starting out in the world of work and you're looking to be an apprentice, your goal is going to be different from the 18-year-old who's actually working full-time and supporting their family, or the 18-year-old who's going to uni, or the person who's on furlough. So you've got to flex this. And I think some people want to have a platform to grow. Some people may want a buffer just to kind of protect themselves a little bit more. Some people may have impending challenges and need a bit of insurance, and other people are pretty comfortable. So there's a spectrum, and you've just got to figure out where you are on that spectrum, what it is you need, and just adapt that idea to really suit your need there.
I agree, and I think the bit that I like from what you said is about being practical, and I think that's what we want to bring out in this podcast then, is practical ideas for people. So I think maybe we can do some of that now, because we've already spoken about taking stuff back that you don't need and selling things on eBay. But also, when you go through your expenses, and if you go through your bank statements and your credit card statements and those kind of things, look at where your money is going and see if there are opportunities to cut some of that.
Look, I would... Guys, one of the questions, right, we sometimes get, and this is relating to the point that you've made, right? One of the questions that we sometimes get is, like, Jermaine, what is it that you actually do? Like, how do you actually manage your thing? You're doing well. What is it you actually do? It's this stuff. So, anyone who's listening, how often do you go through your bank statement? How often do you check your account, and how much do you know what your movements are? Ask the question. Do you like the answer? I know that for us, we have got a huge number of different financial institutions that we engage with to run our portfolio, and I go to every single one every day. I know at any time I will know my positions. Look, it's that kind of discipline, and this is where sometimes we talk about mindset and the behaviours, and sometimes it's like you almost want like a silver bullet to help you with this stuff. There's no silver bullet. You've just got to know your numbers.
You have to put the work in, and
you've got to know this stuff consistently. So and you've got to have a sense of where leaks are coming in, and you've got to plug them. And then you just have to shape those behaviours and do it consistently over a lot of months and then years. Then you'll be fine.
You have to be forensic in looking at your money, where it goes, and ask yourself those tough questions about whether you actually need to do it. And if you have shared finances like we do, we have to keep each other accountable.
100%.
If I see something on a bank statement or a card, I don't know what it is, I will ask you about it, and you would do exactly the same to me. And that's helpful, having that accountability, because not only should we do it for ourselves, but we do it for each other.
Yeah, and it's the only way to grow wealthier, right? And on avoiding broke, we completely know, look, that money is not everything. What money does is it gives you a lot of options, and those options can help you make the choices that you really want to in life. And so this point about accountability is crucial. You've got to know your numbers. Now, if somebody is looking at their statement and they're saying regularly, I know what's happening, I know where money's flowing in and out, well, that's absolutely fine. But for the majority of people, they don't actually know what goes in and out, or they allow a number of different expenses coming in. And the reality is that those of us who aren't necessarily sitting worrying about money every day, one of the reasons we don't have all those worries is because you don't have the same volume of pointless things hitting your account. You keep things predictable. You try to repeat them on a regular basis in a consistent way.
Yes.
You regularly have a surplus of money that you move out and you invest, and over time, stuff just happens. Magic happens.
It is true. Once you build that habit and you're consistent, you have that habit, that is a really positive habit that you are then bringing into your lives, and it will really serve you well. And I think that's basically, I think, the summary of what we're saying here.
100%.
Be forensic, be consistent, form those positive habits, and then let the magic happen.
Agree. So guys, once you start building this habit, then you can start figuring out what kind of products that you might want to start getting involved in. And I think that becomes a really interesting question. In a normal economic situation, I think you look at the question about products a lot more broadly, because there might be a lot of different things on the market. But one thing that you'll start seeing, and I just want to kind of give my view on this one, is there's not necessarily going to be much difference between a lot of the savings and investment products you're going to see, particularly not like the more basic ones. There won't be a huge difference. There is a temptation to kind of run and search for the best rate and to and ah until you can get that rate. Only counsel I'd give is don't worry about it too much. Focus more on just the importance of consistently putting your money that you're not going to be wasting on the Amazons, or the money that you're going to be saving from having been forensic about assessing your expenses. Move that money just into somewhere separate. That's the best counsel I can give you, because it's the importance of the habit that is really crucial for you. And just to be very clear, if I look at where all of our excess cash is right now, it's all in a very low interest savings account. There's nothing fancy about it at all. But the thing that I like about it is I just know it's separate. I know exactly where it is. When I'm ready to use it for the investment, we're looking to see what we want to invest in next. When I'm ready to use it, it's right there. We both have access to it, and it's very quick. That's the only criteria right now, because there's not really much difference. So I just think be practical about it, right? Don't get yourself tied up with this rate and that rate. Don't worry about that too much. Just be practical.
I agree. And this is money that you're putting aside with no intention to spend quickly. This isn't a pot to buy for us to go on holiday or do those kind of things. This is a pot that we've got aside that we have no intention of spending on these things. It's for investments, emergency fund.
No, not for me. So for me, this pot is very clearly to invest. And look, I think this raises an important point, and maybe this is a discussion that we have to have. For me, I don't want any lack of clarity about what the plan is. So if I want to be able to invest in something, an investment is a speculation. It's where there's a chance that I may lose money. There's a chance that money is going to be tied up for a long period of time. That profile, that characteristic, it doesn't fit my investment, my emergency fund. My emergency fund needs to be highly liquid, available like that, and there can be no risk to it.
Yes.
Because if I need to get bailed out, I can't be waiting, and I can't have negotiations. So I like to have real, absolute clarity. And to everyone who's listening and watching, look, that's an important point for you. You've got to get clear. And if you go to any bank, you can open up multiple savings accounts or different pots depending on where you bank. And you can have the different places to put your money. But your mind needs to be crystal clear about what you can spend with the risk of losing, about what you need to bail you out in the risk of a really bad event, about what you might need to have tucked aside for like day-to-day expenses, and what you might want to have as a more flexible buffer where you can absorb the kind of slightly more random ad hoc expenses which you're broadly okay having. I mean, even, those are 4 crude pots. People's pots will differ, but for me, it needs to be crystal clear that there's no crossing over lines between them.
Okay.
That's my view.
I think it's a very good view. It's very clear, and it will help keep things on track.
There you go, guys. You see, no matter where you are, you've always got work to do on this stuff. And that's why you have to revisit it all the time. Because no matter what happens, whatever situation you're in, you can have divergent opinions, and you've got to reconcile them. You've got to get back on the same page. And when you're on the same page, you then need to charge forward. It's crucial. And you do it over a period of time.
Definitely. It's that habit, it's that consistency.
100%.
Brilliant.
Okay. Good. Look, guys, when you're tuning in and listening to this segment, we've been going through, kind of week by week in quite a formulaic way, because we want to unpack a little bit more these really important habits that help build a wealth foundation. Because I think when you're 16 and you might go and get your first job, knowing what to do with what seems like a small amount of money is difficult. And knowing what behaviours you can start to shape from 16 can be tough. I think when you get to 18, you normally see like a bump in your wages in whichever country you're in. But you might also see a bump in your commitments, because at 18, you can go and take out more credit. You might be going to university. And again, knowing what behaviours can help you is challenging. When you're at 21 and you finish at uni, you have a different set of commitments still. And then when you go past 21, you've got life. And that can knock you for 6. So that's why we're trying to deconstruct this, because at different stages, no matter what stuff you're dealing with, these behaviours that we're talking about and that we're unpacking are crucial. We're a lot older than that now. We're really well established, have built a decent base and portfolio, which is growing quickly, I think. But even still, we come back to these same lessons that have held us in good stead for a lot of years.
Yeah. Get your fundamentals right from the beginning.
Always. It's just like if you play a sport, you still a top free kick taker, David Beckham, would still after practice hit 100 free kicks a day. Ronaldo would still do the same. If you look at top basketball players, they're still going to take a number of different free throws. If you look at top golfers, they still practice their wedge play on a regular basis and just mini swings, baby swings. Whatever it is, it's constant repetition of the key fundamentals that leads to greatness at the end of the day.
I think that's a great place to leave it. I think you've summed it up wonderfully.
Cool. All right, happy with that.
Okay, well, thank you so much, guys, for tuning into the podcast. Really hope you found it useful. Do let us know if you have any questions. We'd love to hear from you. You can also find us on Instagram, Avoiding Broke, Facebook, Avoiding Broke, YouTube, the Avoiding Broke channel.
Yeah. Most major platforms, guys, you're going to find us at Avoiding Broke. Definitely make sure you check out YouTube. YouTube is where we're really putting out a more diverse set of content. And that's the best place to actually go if you really want to get a broad sense of the different things we look at around not only finances, but also career advice and personal growth more broadly. Okay?
So great, guys. So we really look forward to seeing you very soon. Definitely next Sunday for the next podcast. And in the meantime, have a great week.
Cool. Take care, guys.
Bye all.
Bye-bye.